Hi, welcome to Buffzone. I'm Kyle Ringo. This is Brian Howell. We're here in the indoor practice facility today. The Buffs are getting ready for Oregon and a trip to Autzen Stadium, the number 3 team in the nation, I think, in the AP poll this week. Marcus Mariota, Heisman Trophy candidate. Buffs haven't had a lot of success against Oregon in recent years, and the Buffs are pretty banged up. So, what are your thoughts?
Sounds like a pretty good combination. I think unfortunately it's going to be an ugly game for the Buffs. Frankly, I just think they've played competitively in all but one game this year, and that was USC. And I think this will be the number 2 game in which they're not very competitive.
Right. I would say that I think this Buff offense can move the ball against the Oregon defense at times. And it depends on how creative CU gets and how Oregon plays, obviously. But I would expect this CU team to score more points against this Oregon team than has happened in previous games between these two programs. But I'm with you. I don't forecast a Buff victory.
Right.
But I think the Buffs can. This team has, outside of that USC game, this team has played pretty well against every opponent, and I would expect nothing less. But I just think there's too many guys who aren't going to be on the field for the Buffs to, think realistically that they could stun the college football world and beat the Ducks in Autzen Stadium.
Yeah, I agree. And when I said earlier, I don't mean that I think the Buffs are going to play poorly. I just think that they're completely outmatched in this one.
Right.
I think that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. Oregon may very well win a national championship. They're coming down the stretch here. They've got a chance to win the national championship. I don't think they're going to take any chances on messing that up. I think they're going to be determined to come out and kind of put this thing away early and try to cruise throughout the second half and move on to the next game.
Yeah, Coach McIntyre this week, he votes in the coaches poll this year, and he said he's one of those guys, the 6 coaches who up to this point has voted Oregon number 1.
Yeah.
So that tells you all you need to know about what Coach McIntyre thinks of the Ducks as they go into this game.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit. The basketball team is off to a good start.
Yep.
Routed Oregon the other night in late night, or Auburn, sorry, in late night basketball. What have been your impressions so far in the early going?
I think they've gotten off to a great start. It's been fun to watch them. They've pushed the pace and really worn out teams in the second half, and it's been kind of fun to watch. I think their depth is better than it was last year. It's pretty much the same personnel, but they're better. I think everybody's just a better player, and they can go 9-10 deep. And this week they might get Dom Collier, so they can maybe go 11 deep. Their depth is tremendous, and at least here at altitude they've been able to push the pace and wear teams out in the second half. Altitude's not going to be an advantage in Wyoming. Right. Tad mentioned today they might have the advantage because they're at 7,000 something feet. So, but I like the start they've gotten off to.
Josh Scott got off to a little bit of a slow start against Auburn, but has been impressive in both games.
Yeah.
Xavier Johnson also impressive. Who's been the guy who's impressed you most so far?
Well, those 2 guys, obviously they're the ones you kind of expect, but the guy who's impressed me the most so far is Wes Gordon. I think that he's taken his game to a new level, which we talked about in the offseason. Coaches talking about it, but we're seeing it now. And offensively, he was so much more aggressive than I think we've ever seen him in a CU uniform the other day, and it was fun to watch. And if Wes Gordon plays like that throughout the year, holy cow.
Right.
I mean, this team down low with those 2, with him and Scott, and then Torrey Miller coming off the bench, I don't know if there's a better team in the conference that's better down low. Colorado
has a lot of length on the court when Josh Scott, Wesley Gordon, and Xavier Johnson are out there together.
Yeah, they do. The perimeter defense needs a little more length, but at least down there they've got a lot of length, and if those 3 guys are playing well, they're going to be tough to beat.
All right, well, we'll be back in Thanksgiving week next week to look at the end of the season, the regular season finale on the football field, and talk a little bit more about the basketball team.